Hello and welcome to Jason's Hideout tonight. It's a sad episode, but also a celebration of somebody that we cherish very dearly. Leonard Nimoy is gone, but he will not be forgotten due to the wonderful technology of your Netflix. You need to watch him. He's coming back every single night. You're going to see him because we're going to tell you what to watch. We're going to tell you what he meant to fanboy culture. We love you. We miss you. Join us tonight. Hello everybody, welcome to Jason's Hideout. Tonight we have co-contributor Commander Cody Murray. Cody, hello.
Hello, good evening.
You're looking very Star Trek tonight.
And so are you, my friend.
Not as much as me though.
Not even. Look, does everybody see?
Anyway,
there you go.
Yeah. Tragic news in fanboy-dom. Leonard Nimoy has passed away. Swig for Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy, obviously, as you all know, if you are fanboys, or even if you're not, was Mr. Spock.
Dr. Spock.
Dr. Spock, no, Mr. Spock.
Captain Spock.
Commander Spock.
Ambassador Spock.
Ambassador Spock. Anyway, he played an iconic character, not just in fanboy culture, but in pop culture. A tremendous actor, I believe an underrated and unsung kind of hero type actor.
Absolutely.
For me, definitely, but for a lot of people out there. Leonard Nimoy portrayed a character in Star Trek that inspired so many other people that go into the profession of sciences, medicine, engineering. NASA actually put on their homepage a farewell to Leonard Nimoy and a tribute. Why did he matter so much to us?
It's alright, getting a little verklempt.
I'm sorry.
No, it's... I think
he did have a long and prosperous life. Ayo. But I mean, why did he matter to us like that?
Here's a character that was such an unsung hero, and a viable hero a lot of times too. He was so emotionless, which in acting is, I think, really, really hard to do, to just be flat, just even
all the time.
Right, you're not conveying any emotion.
Right.
And yet, my God, man, how much emotion did he convey?
Yeah.
By just not reacting. But I mean,
well, he did react. It was just in it was such a minor way. The thing is that we covered this in an episode of the original Tu La La, where the girls were asking sort of the difference between, you know, Trekkies and Warsies as they came up with, and I expressed that I was a Trekkie, that between the two franchises, I was a Trekkie, and I mean old school Trekkie, before Chris Pine, you know, Trekkie. Trek
2.0.
Exactly. And the thing is that really for me growing up and seeing this show, I had it on a little freaking black and white TV with the actual plastic clicking dial, and I remember watching on PBS. They would have Star Trek on with Doctor Who back to back, and to me it just, even though it was black and white, it was this big, and half the time I'd have to mess antennas around to get it. It meant something to me because it was an alien race a lot of times, Vulcan, and they were dealing with things in an emotional way, and it's something for a little nerd like myself could identify with. And you're just like, he is ostracized for the way he looks or the way he acts, the way he behaves, but look at the contribution he makes. And then to grow up and to keep watching Trek and see this actor, Leonard Nimoy, play the same character. I mean, he played other characters, but the one he's iconically known for, and you know, the bread and butter situation here, playing this iconic Mr. Spock character for like 30 years or something insane.
Well, 40.
Yeah, if you go into
the
new Trek.
Yeah.
And to see his character arc and everything he goes through, learning how to deal with his human side, coming back from death, literally. How to deal with that.
I mean, for the love of God.
Yeah, and to see all of that, and then to be thrust in a whole nother parallel dimension and meet himself. And it's the same actor playing the same damn character for decades. It's almost a study in character acting. And if you watch it, he does more with an emotionless character than, I mean, frankly, than William Shatner does with the most emotional of the characters on the show. I'm not knocking William Shatner, but ultimately, I think Leonard Nimoy was the finest actor in all of Trek. And the only person this is my opinion, the only person that even comes, close, obviously, is Mr. Jean-Luc Picard himself, Patrick Stewart, who, hey, kudos, Patrick's awesome. But look at the material that Patrick Stewart gets to work with, and look at this man that made Mr. Spock, who has no emotions, and look how emotional we are about this character, because he made us feel for him. And it's just amazing as an actor point of view, what you can do with a character that's supposed to have no emotions. It's amazing what this man did.
Well, you know how they say a lot of times that less is more?
Yeah.
Right? Especially in acting. You don't want to be goofy like, oh, why are we looking for this probe in space? It's crazy. I mean, that's William Shatner-esque acting. Is Leonard Nimoy not the epitome of the less is more school of acting?
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, like you said, he's done this for 40 years, did this. And as much as we're missing Leonard Nimoy, I think most people are going to be missing Spock.
Well, right.
You know what I mean? Like, what was his autobiography or biography was I Am Spock. Right?
Well, what happened was in the late 70s, in order to kind of break out of that typecasting that he was trying to get out of, because just like any actor, you're like, my God, let me explore other opportunities. But sometimes when a character comes along that you're so identified with, it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, look at what Henry Winkler with the Fonz. I mean, it's like, what are you going to do after you play the Fonz? You're the Fonz, pal. The end. Go be a producer, because that's your character. Anyway, he wrote an autobiography in the late 70s called I Am Not Spock. And it was his biography, and but he was basically saying, I'm Leonard Nimoy, I'm an actor, I'm emotional, I have things, blah, blah, blah. And then in 1990, the mid-90s, he came out with a second biography that said, I am Spock. He finally just gave the fuck up, and he realized, not only is this what I'm identified with, but I'm proud to be identified with it, and that character has changed me. Playing this character has affected me as a human, and that's pretty powerful.
Well, and what's interesting too is then the timeline between those two books, because when was original Trek on? 66 to like 69?
66, 67, 68, or 69. I mean,
Ish.
It was off by the time we were on the moon.
78 episodes, right?
Yeah,
about 20 good ones, as they say.
Yeah.
And so, and how long till the motion picture got made? 70.
The first motion picture, I think, got made in 78 or 79.
Right.
Because Star Wars came out in 77. And that's what sort of we should do something with Paramount. We were like, well, we have something like this called Star Trek.
Sure, let's get it out there.
We should get it up and running.
Exactly.
At the time, they didn't know if they were going to do a TV show because they were going to relaunch the TV show for a small period of time.
Series 2, right?
Yeah, exactly. But instead, they went with the motion picture because Star Wars did so amazing. At that time, you had Star Wars come out, and then that relaunched that fantasy type genre, because you had Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you had Superman, the original, the only Superman,
the best,
with Chris Reeve, and then Richard Donner's making of it, and then you had the motion picture, and it was Star Trek: The Motion Picture came out in '79, I believe.
And even that is not one of the most beloved of the Star Trek
but it
films,
did take it out of the past and go, here we are,
put it out in front for everybody to see, which of course then led to Wrath of Khan, which led to Search for Spock, and so on and so forth. So the time he writes his first autobiography, you've only done 78 episodes of Star Trek, and for all practical purposes, it's kind of done. I mean, he started doing conventions at that time. But that was a new phenomenon. Trekkie Star Trek conventions, fanboy conventions. It all started. All your comic book fandom convention, Firefly, Highlander, Buffy conventions, wherever the fuck you is. It all started with Trek. That's the original, where fans were like, we love Star Trek, and we love it in syndication. We want them. We want to see these people. We love them. It was the first almost like cult following of a TV show. And they brought them in, and they paid for them to come to hotels and come down and just talk to an audience. And Leonard Nimoy and Walter Koenig and George Takei, they were all like, this is crazy. You're gonna pay us to come there, put us in a hotel just to like wave and talk. That you're gonna do that for us. It seemed weird to them. And well, you see what it's become. Today there's a Star Trek convention being held every single day somewhere around the planet Earth. The planet Earth, yeah, no doubt.
And that's the impact of Star Trek. But to a lot of people, You know, even though they came out with, you know, Next Generation and Voyager and all of it, and they're great stuff. I mean, Next Generation is better as a series than the classic Trek. It is, start to end. Too bad they couldn't make any goddamn movies.
Yeah,
First Contact. But ultimately, Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner, to a large extent, it is Star Trek. They are Star Trek.
Absolutely.
To a lot of people. So we've basically lost
50% of Star Trek.
50% of what a lot of people consider that is Star Trek to us. That is Trek. So it's not just a major loss for Trekkies like myself, who this whole genre and TV show inspired me to do things with my life and to behave a certain way. But it's a big deal, I think, in just fanboy culture in general. This is one that matters. Like, you know, it's not like that DeForest Kelly died who played Dr. McCoy. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't matter, but I mean, it's Spock and Kirk, man.
Yeah,
I mean, this is it, man.
Yeah, there's I don't know another pair that can rival them as far as you know, like buddies. That also have an emotional core to them. I mean, that's the thing that I think really separates Star Trek, especially original series and Next Generation as well, but those two, from Star Wars, from any other sci-fi series you can really touch on.
Yeah.
And again, it's funny because the original series was, again, so short-lived, but so beloved. Right, well, to the point where you start again in its early years when it was first on. You know, there wasn't a way to really rewatch it unless it was on reruns. Right. Which was
unless you're one in a million people that had some kind of recording device, which just didn't exist.
But to get the motion picture made, to get Wrath of Khan, to get the ball rolling, to get this huge swell of support.
Yeah.
And it was timing too because of the success of Star Wars, right?
Right.
But the bond that grows between these two guys, these two characters, specifically the characters, not the actors, right?
Well, the actors, they grew together too.
Kinda.
What happened was that
how much did they like each other?
What they didn't during the series. Spock was not supposed to become what he did. When Mr. Spock was on the original series, he was supposed to be this, you know, interesting
robot
character. But the Captain Kirk, was supposed to be the top dog, the shit. Okay, and William Shatner, of course, is a ham hock of an actor who's like going to bask in the glory of being the hero. What happened was the audience responded a lot more to Spock than they did to Captain Kirk in the original run. So, like, Time Life magazine was coming interviewing Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy was getting, you know, billing with Kirk, you know, with William Shatner. There'd be fans, specifically of Spock, okay? And it fucked with William Shatner's ego quite a bit, actually. And he admits this. This is not speculation. He's come out and said, yeah, well, it fucking bothered me. I'm the star. Yep. Okay, I mean, total classic. Well, through the 70s, they would meet up at conventions and things like that and all that good stuff. But what happened starting around the motion picture, The Search for Spock, which is the third Star Trek film, Leonard Nimoy was directing primarily. He was directing the whole film, obviously, but he was only in it for a very short time. He directed the film, and they said that's really, in that time period, in the mid-80s, I think it's about 84, 85, they came together and they really started
clicking.
They started clicking and they
melding, if you will.
Yeah, and they put their egos away, and I guess they were just older, and they had both attained a lot of success through this franchise that they actually started hanging out outside of work, so to say, and their relationship from about the mid '80s on grew really tight to where by the the '90s, the late '90s, early 2000s, they did a DVD called Mind Meld, where William Shatner goes and interviews Leonard Nimoy, and in it they both readily admit, "You're my best friend." Like, they are best now at this point. They became best friends, which is, it's just amazing. I guess their journey together as actors and as just humans who became best friends and who started off as characters on a show and it took 20 years for them to start being like, actually, let's get a drink, Leonard.
Right, and be friends as humans, not just as characters on screen. Sure. But again, to me, that's one of the biggest draws of Trek, both original, next gen, whatever, was
a lot of humanity there.
Was a lot of humanity. You mentioned the overshadowing when he became popular in the original series.
Yeah,
I mean, this is like during the heat of the space race between
Oh,
the
yeah.
United States
Absolutely.
and Soviet Russia. And who doesn't want to see an alien?
That's right.
Really, you've seen the cowboy. Like if you were a kid growing up in the 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
you've watched a ton of westerns.
Sure.
That's your hero. That these guys go out and boldly go
Right.
on the open frontiers. Now you're in this awesome new frontier of space.
Mm-hmm.
You still have your lead cowboy in Kirk, but now you've got this weirdo with the pointy ears that kind of looks like a devil.
Yeah, you looked at, and they did. They got response from the Bible Belt of he looks too much like a devil.
Too demonic.
And, Gene Roddenberry and them stuck by their guns. Well, this is what this alien looks like. Bastards. Okay, so get over it.
Suck it.
Suck it hard.
Suck my Spock.
Suck it. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, ultimately, that is just the greatest thing in the world is that a franchise that just was dying this slow death, and it was one of these things where just these fans kept it going. When Star Trek Wrath of Khan came out, Star Trek II, this motion picture that was made on basically the budget of what they were making, TV films on at the time. The new producer, Harv Bennett, came on, who was a television producer for Paramount. And then, they brought in Nick Myers to do the directing. They relaunched it. They gave it new life. Matter of fact, Leonard Nimoy didn't want anything to do with Star Trek anymore after the motion picture because it was, even though it did well financially, critically it was horrible. A horrible story that ultimately he didn't want anything to do with it. Harv Bennett convinced him to come back, not with money. He convinced Leonard Nimoy to come back for Wrath of Khan because he said, "What if I give you a good death scene? Because if you're not going to do Trek anymore, can we kill you? Because that's wrestling promoting right there. Can we do a hair match?" And he's like, "Okay. Let me read it." And then ultimately it was such a good thing. He's like, "Okay, well, sure, let's have some gravitas to the thing and let's kill off Spock." Halfway through the making of Wrath of Khan, Leonard Nimoy knew that it was going to be successful. Mm-hmm. He knew that they had gotten their balls back and that this was the Trek that Trekkies fell in love with. He realized, my God, this is going to be a good movie. And sometimes they say that you can be on a movie and you can tell if it's going to be good or you can tell if it's going to be bad when you're making it. And the general consensus was right away, wow, this is real Trek. This is like what we thought we were going to do in the last motion picture. And Leonard Nimoy and Nick Myers and Harv Bennett came up with that whole Remember segment because they're like, if this does as well as we think it's going to do, critically and commercially, maybe Leonard Nimoy will come back. And here the whole damn thing started again. Without Wrath of Khan, without those men, those three, I think Leonard Nimoy, Harv Bennett, Nick Myers, there would be no Star Trek today. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I mean it. I think it would have just shut down, maybe permanently, and we would have never come back to it. But that was the catalyst to restart the whole damn thing again. And it's amazing what Leonard Nimoy did with this character throughout all these years is amazing. It's amazing. And if you haven't seen this body of work, which I hope you have if you're watching our channel, please go back and watch this stuff, please.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, kids. If you haven't watched the original series, and really it's going to be hard to watch the original series because they went back in and retooled everything a few years back.
But the Blu-rays that came out, with every single episode, you can choose either remastered, where they cleaned it up, or special edition, where they put in the new stuff and it's remastered. So either way, you can have your cake and you can eat it too if you get these Blu-rays.
I mean, honestly, either way, go back and watch the original series if you hadn't, haven't in a long time, because
or at least Google a top 10. Honestly,
yeah, sure.
Google a top 10. Say top 10 classic Trek episodes. I know this is how a lot of people work. Top 10 Spock episodes.
Sure.
It's on Netflix. It's cleaned up. Go watch them.
Yeah, you know what? You can save House of Cards and Orange is the New Black for a while. Go back and watch some original Trek, because the thing is, the stories
are so damn good.
So damn good.
If you got to watch some classic Trek, obviously you got to watch Space Seed because it's a prequel without them knowing they were making a prequel to Wrath of Khan. That's all I got to say about that. Badass. City on the Edge of Forever won an award for best teleplay or whatever, science fiction. absolutely fantastic. Amok Time, if you want to see a real Spock episode about him, the Pon farr and all that, the fighting and all that shit. There are some fabulous fucking episodes.
There's also some terrible episodes.
Oh, there's a lot of terrible episodes, you know. But ultimately, at least watch 3 or 4 of those and see Leonard Nimoy's performance. And then from there, you can skip Star Trek 1 motion picture. It has nothing to do with anything. Watch Wrath of Khan, watch Star Trek 3, watch Star Trek 4. It's a trilogy. And they made a trilogy, again, without knowing they were making a trilogy. Those 2, 3, and 4 go together and make a story arc from start to end.
Absolutely.
And, you know, then you can skip 5, that fucking sucked. But then you can go back and watch their final performance altogether, which is Undiscovered Country, and it's a one-off. It's just it's a one-shot story,
yep.
And it's a fantastic farewell. It's not as good as Wrath of Khan, but it's a fantastic farewell.
Was that Nick Myers and Harve Bennett again?
It was directed by Nick Myers, but ultimately Nick Myers, Harve Bennett, and Leonard Nimoy all had their hands in the pot when it came to 2, 3, 4. And 6, not 5.
Right.
And that should tell you something, for the love of God. They brought Nick Myers back to direct, which he hadn't directed, but he helped write 3 and 4. Okay, Harve Bennett was producing all of them.
Right.
So all these 3 men are what made these films. They really, really did.
And as you said, totally revitalized this franchise.
Whole thing.
More than just revitalized it. I mean, they were like, you know, the Viagra.
Brought it back from the damn dead.
In the Star Trek boner.
Yeah. For all the new fanboys out there that love Trek and all that, go revisit that. For all of you guys that know what we're talking about, hey, this is just a post-mortem on how great Leonard Nimoy's contributions to not only Star Trek was, but the whole fanboy culture. It might have been where some of the nucleus of fanboy culture might have come from Star Trek, ultimately.
In a lot of ways, because I'm trying to think of what else has had such a widespread and long-lasting effect on so many people. Like, from a sci-fi...
I mean, it's almost looked at like a religion for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, totally. There are Trek wedding ceremonies, there are Trek burial ceremonies.
The Vulcan way of life and the Federation principles, you know, of we're just exploring, there's no money, we're trying to, the betterment of ourselves as society.
You know, there's the Vulcan philosophy of IDIC, right?
Infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Which you can also buy as a poster,
we know that,
for your college dormitory. I remember seeing them up when I went to college.
Yes.
And all I could think is, nerds. But I'm one of those nerds.
But at any rate, he was also a great director. He directed 3 Men and a Baby and Never Forget, which is was a great film that was made for TV back in the late 80s, early 90s about the Jewish Holocaust. And fantastic. Leonard Nimoy was Jewish. And he actually got the Vulcan salute from when he was a child going to the Jewish temple, and they're all supposed to close their eyes, and the priests put their hands out like this, and no one was supposed to be opening their eyes, but he opened his eyes to see. And then when he was on the set, they said, what do you want to do to, let's say, live long and prosper? And he says, I'll do this salute. And that was from his childhood experience, seeing at the Jewish priest doing that.
Wow.
So a little bit of trivia for you if you didn't know that one. But that's where, and now we all do it, you know, as you're a goddamn nerd, you know. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And of course, he also did the amazing Ballad of Bilbo Baggins. If you haven't
YouTube that up,
haven't heard that, you need to watch it,
because that goes in line with our Hobbit video.
Oh, absolutely! I think it's better than our Hobbit video.
I think it's better than the Hobbit.
I think it's better than the entire Hobbit. Yeah,
trilogy. just listen to the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins.
That's some good stuff.
And not only is it his great singing, but at the same time, it's a lot shorter than the Hobbit film.
No pun intended.
It's pretty good.
No, it was terrible.
Anyway. Thank you for all the work you've done, Leonard Nimoy. Thank you very much, Mr. Spock, and we'll continue to watch you into the next generation of Final Frontier forever, man.
Space, the final frontier.
Netflix, the final frontier.
Spock on, people.
Spock on. I grok Spock.
Ooh.
You have been and always shall be, my friend.
And you as well.
Okay, now let's pretend like we can't touch. No, that's it. Yeah. We'll reenact the whole scene for you if you want.
But the original scene, not that abortion they did in Star Trek 2 2.0 or whatever.
Whatever the fuck it is.